Good evening, YouTube. This is going to be an everyday carry video, an EDC video. I haven't made one since that one that I put up in 2014, around June. That was my last EDC video, and it is currently April 2016. So I thought I would do an update. Some things have changed, and by trial and error and finding new things and trying new things and learning new things, I've improved my EDC over the last almost 2 years that it's been now. And so, to try to keep this video not ridiculously long, I'll go ahead and get started into it. So, I'm going to start with, I have two everyday carries really. Since the beginning of this year, I have been working from home. So I have my main EDC, my main everyday carry that I use when I'm out there in the world, when I get fully dressed. And when I do that, you know, I wear my boots and usually BDUs, unless it's during the summertime, and then I'll wear like patrol bike shorts or some sort of cargo shorts that'll be comfortable and allow me to carry all of my stuff. And then when I'm home, you know, I'll usually just be wearing sweatpants or something. So I have my, what I consider my regular EDC, and then I have what I consider my light EDC. So starting with my regular EDC, this is still the same. I still start everything off with the Wilderness Original Instructor Belt. Wilderness Tactical Instructor Belt, something like that. Yep, just the Wilderness, thewilderness.com. I found it's a very good belt. I've just been using and reordering these over the years. I always get mine with the polymer insert so that it's extra thick. And it's a good strong belt. And I find when I use this, you know, I put it through loop and then I end up just going on top of my belt loops. In the past, I used to try to feed it through, and I would actually pull my belt over when I put my pants back on and then Velcro it and then feed it back through the loops so that it was nice and neat. But I found that the Velcro is strong enough. If you're using it properly, you can just cover up the belt loops and it's fine. But this is a good belt for keeping all of your gear and for keeping everything secure. So Wilderness Instructor Belt. Okay, so if I start on my left side, I'll go ahead and start with the various things that I have on my belt as well as in my pockets on my left side. So this is the piece of gear that I've cobbled together that I pretty much carry on my left hip all the time. So it starts off with this. I don't know if you've seen these, but they have these on eBay, and you can also get them on Amazon these days. I got the last one on Amazon. It's just kind of a junky Molle drop holster. It doesn't really have a brand. It says US on it, and it's usually quite a bit longer, and then it has a strap around the bottom for attaching to your thigh. So my thought was, I got tired of carrying, in the past, like in my old EDC video, I might have gone over, I was previously using a mag pouch that fit horizontally on my belt, which was nice, but I wanted to be able to condense my stuff some more because I was also carrying like an EMT pouch that held all the other stuff, and I wanted to put it all together. However, I don't like how when you wear a typical mag pouch, like this is a Condor MA23 double mag pouch, which has served me well. I don't like how when you wear a normal mag pouch on your belt the way that it's supposed to be, it rides really high and sticks into your gut, especially if you have a gut. So I thought it would be nice to try to figure out some sort of drop platform without actually having something that you have to attach to your leg, which obviously wouldn't work in a day-to-day scenario. It would be pulling at your pants and being uncomfortable all day long. So I took this US drop leg holster thing and I cut off about that much of it. I cut off the part that had the strap, which left, it's got this kind of plastic insert to keep it hard on the inside, as well as, you know, it was nylon or Cordura or something on the top. So this is how it looks after having worn itself out kind of over a good period of time, but it doesn't really make any difference. This plastic thing doesn't ever try to come out. It doesn't ever bother me. The only thing that's ever bothered me is, you know, wearing this on my belt like this, sometimes these, you know, nylon edges right here might be a little sharp and they would kind of scratch at my skin sometimes. But, you know, I just took some nail clippers or something and shaved them down a little bit and now they're fine. So I wear this on my belt. I have this Condor double mag pouch attached to it. And so then inside this mag pouch I have a few things. I have a FOURSEVENS Preon light, which I originally saw reviewed by Nut and Fancy. And this light is okay. It's nice and slim, and over time, you know, in trial and error, I've taken the little clip off, and I used to carry it like this, but then sometimes I would bump this and then the battery would be dead because it would be sitting on all day until the battery dies. So I carry it upside down. That way, in the rare times that I do bump it and the light turns on, I'll realize it and I can turn it off. Not very bright. Does good in the dark, I guess. It has multiple different brightness settings. But it's okay. I would like to have something brighter, but whenever I do actually need this, it works. It works well enough. It's decently bright enough. Then I have this pin, and this is kind of a backup pin. This is one of the Rite in the Rain tactical black clicker pins. It's a pin that uses, I forget which kind of refill it is, but it's some commonly available refill, and you can write upside down, and you can write on wet paper, and you can write in extreme conditions and stuff. And I don't think I've never really written anything with it. I've just always kept it as a backup. You know, I carry lots of pins, normal pins on me all the time. So this is just something I've always carried just in case I needed a pin and didn't have the other pins for some reason. Then I've got a mag pouch, or a magazine for my main carry, which is a Glock 30S, which I'll show you in a little bit. And this is just the 10 round, the shorter magazine. I can also carry a 12 round, but I find that the 12 round is just tall enough to where, you know, it kind of gets in the way and it's a little bit heavier. So a lot of times I just carry this 10 rounder. And then on the other side here, I have a Benchmade folder that my girlfriend gave me, which has turned out to be a really great knife. I guess this is according to the blade. I didn't buy this myself, but according to the blade, it is a Benchmade 154 CM. And I haven't been able to find a link to that on Amazon lately, so it might be an outdated design. But I think it's like a $200 knife. Very nice knife. I use it frequently for utility purposes. So then, as I continue on the stuff that's on the outside, let's see, that's pretty much it on the outside on my left side. If I go down to my cargo pockets, one thing I use here, I used to carry my pins and stuff loose in my cargo pockets. And then I found this, and I started carrying this. This is an EDC Pocket Pal 2 organizer. It's kind of an EMT thing. It came with some Velcro loops for holding shears. And these days, I always keep a Sharpie marker in it. I keep a couple of these Pilot G2s. These are excellent pins. I went over them in my last EDC video a couple years ago. I've been using these pins for years, and these are my favorite pins, especially the small point, the .38. This is the smallest point that you can get, and it's teeny tiny. And you know, in the past, in my work, I've had to write very small, you know, in appointment books and stuff like that. And I love these pins. These are fantastic. They last me a long time. They write in cold weather. They never freeze up or bind up or anything because they're smooth gel pens. The only problem you ever run into with gel pens is if it's raining or if it's wet or something, then the ink can smear. Then I've also got this little handy sharp knife sharpener, which is just kind of a thing that was made by a local guy that I bought at a gun show that I was pretty impressed with. It's a cool little knife sharpener that I just keep with me. As well as, even though I don't smoke cigarettes, I always have a cigarette lighter, just a little mini that can fit in this front pouch right here, just to be prepared with fire. No, I would not carry a flint and steel living in the city like I do. So as I continue, let's see, also in my cargo pocket I tend to carry one of these like mentholatum snuff tubes. You know, so if you're feeling a little congested or sinuses are giving you trouble or whatever, you can just, you know, snuff that with this mentholatum medicine that's inside, and that clears up your sinuses. So I keep that on me all the time. And then, let's see, in my left front pocket I keep my wallet, and this is a Chum's wallet that I typically get from REI when I need to get a new one. It's just a nice little front pocket wallet. You know, I turn my ID upside down, my driver's license upside down, but I keep my license right there. And inside the wallet I keep all of my main cards and stuff, but I also keep an extra car key. I learned that a long time ago, to keep an extra car key in your wallet so you don't accidentally get locked out. I also have an emergency phone card. If I ever need a phone card for using a payphone or something, or if there's a problem with my phone and I need to make an emergency call, I can always use that phone card. kind of a relic of older days, but it's good to have that, especially since I already had it, so I may as well carry it with me. I also keep an old business card holder for keeping all the extra cards that I don't use as much, and I keep that in another back pocket. Carrying a wallet in your back pocket is bad for your back, so I keep it in the front pocket. And then also in my wallet pocket I keep the flash drive that I use most often for transferring files to work. Then, one of my newest things that I do here, and I forgot to look this up, I'll make sure to put it in the description. This is a Benchmade SOCP. I learned about this knife not long ago, and for a while I was studying karambits and thinking about getting myself a karambit. And then I heard from, talk about a special forces person that someone close to me met, who carries a couple of these on him all the time. I looked into this knife and I loved it. It's something that you can keep as a backup weapon system, especially if you strategically place it on your body somewhere so that you can use it in an emergency, like if you can't get to your gun. If I also got the other model, I'll be able to use it for utility purposes. I'll get more into that in a second. But this is a fighting knife. This is a stabby knife for if you get yourself in a situation, and as the inventor of the SOCP says, if you need to create some space. If you get in a situation with your firearm and you can't get to your gun, or if a bad guy's trying to take your gun from you, or if you're in some sort of struggle and you go to the ground or something like that and you can't get your firearm and you're getting pounded on, I keep this attached in my cargo pocket on my left leg. So if I do go to the ground or I get in some sort of bad situation and can't get to my gun or can't use my gun, I could always reach down to my leg, pull that out, make myself some space, and then continue from there accessing my firearm or whatever I need to do. These little holes that you see right here, these are the screws from the original clip that came with it, which was a decent clip. It was a metal clip, very strong clip that came all the way down and pressed into right here. However, I wanted to replace the clip for a couple reasons. First of all, I saw someone on YouTube mention this particular kind of clip instead. I forget who did it, and I forgot what this clip is called, but I think it's made by 3M. It's some sort of special clip for attaching things to cloth, and you can kind of see that there. It's got some teeth in there, and it does hold it into cloth a little better than the metal clip did, but it also makes this entirely made of plastic now. I had to get into somewhere not too long ago where I was going to be in a dangerous part of town, but I couldn't bring weapons inside, and so I was able to, this is so light and so thin that I was able to smuggle this in attached to paper. And then, I just put this in my pants so that it wouldn't be detected by metal detectors or anything like that. And this is a good thing for that. It makes it a lot easier to work with if you need to get a weapon into somewhere where they don't want you to bring it in and you don't want to surrender your liberty for that policy. This is a great knife. I do wish, however, that I got the other version of it. This is the original version, which just has the really strong point designed for piercing, and you can see the edge right there. Not much of an edge. Great for piercing. Would be fantastic for piercing very strongly. However, it doesn't cut very much. It's designed for going into something, and I have used this, since it's kind of easier access even than my Benchmade, the other one that I already showed you. Sometimes I'll pull this out to open up a box or something, and the tip is enough to go through tape. But if it's like a box with, those pieces of string inside the tape, or if you have to cut anything, this doesn't really get through it very well. It doesn't have much of a cutting edge. There is another version of this that has serrated teeth right here, so it's more like one side of it is more like a normal knife, and then the other side is just kind of like a drop point or whatever. So, and that would be a lot more functional. I kind of wish I got that version now, and that is at the expense of not being as strong at piercing. It doesn't have quite the strength, the support, as this blade does. But that would be something much more practical for everyday life. I may get one of those one of these days. This is the Greg Thompson SOCP by Benchmade. Good stuff. So I keep that down on my left leg. Okay, so moving over to my right side, I've got my main carry weapon, and this is a Desantis Superfly, which I originally got for the Glock 26. I used to carry a Glock 26, and then later I consider an upgrade to a Glock 30S. However, I found pocket carrying a 30S in this all the time. The sights of my 30S were digging into my pants pockets and creating holes very quickly. So I had a friend of mine who did leather work help me and custom design and attach, just a little extra leather shield right here that basically shielded my pants from the sights. So with that, this is a fantastic pocket holster. And some would say that a 30S is too big for pocket carry, and a lot of people will complain that a 26 is too big for pocket carry. And I think for having really good equipment and for living this kind of lifestyle, you make some sacrifices to your comfort level. And I do that with this, and when you're used to it, it's no big deal. Every time I step out of the house, this is in my front pocket. Of course, I usually wear things with fairly big pockets like BDU pants or cargo shorts that have pockets big enough to carry this. But this works great for me. So my 30S, this is my favorite gun out of all my guns, my daily carry. And what I've got going on here, which might be different from before, I don't know if the 30S was in my video review before, but this is a 30S, and with my Glocks I always do a few things to them. This, I put on a superior recoil spring guide, which questionable as to whether or not that actually helps. I like the cosmetic look of it. I kind of replaced everything with stainless steel stuff, all of my pens. I put an extended takedown lever, which I actually recently replaced with another extended takedown lever because I realized that there's kinds that just kind of stick out some more from the stock ones, and then there's kinds that kind of have a trapezoidal shape to it, to where the bottom corners stick out further from the top corners. And I found that those make it way easier to pull down. They grip your fingers really, really well. So I've got those on there, as well as an extended slide lock, which is extremely helpful with a Glock. On the 30S, I added a beaver tail here because with pocket carry, I found with back when I did the 26, I kind of relied on that beaver tail for pulling it out of the pocket. So I made sure to put a beaver tail on this one, and that helps a lot with that. I previously had XS big dot sights on this, and if you look up other videos or Amazon reviews by mine, I did not like the rear sight on the XS big dot sights at all. It had fundamentally bad problems with design that made you end up not being able to align your shot vertically very well. Eventually, I really liked the front sight, and so I kept the front sight, and then I just got rid of the old XS big dot rear sight, and I replaced the rear sight with just some Meprolite, Nite sights, which lined up with the big dot sight well enough. And I carried it that way for a long time. You see all these? This is from removing that big dot sight. I had to do some crazy stuff with a vise and everything. So my carry weapon has some character. But now these are Meprolite rear sights, and then eventually, maybe a few months ago, I started getting tired of having the big dot, because this 30S is capable of making some longer shots than you normally would with a pocket pistol, and I was just kind of leaning towards wanting to get back towards having a little more accuracy than having that blind spot of having that extra large sight up there, because this was capable of shooting further. And I found that to use the big dot sights on more than just close up and combat sight situations. Everybody who loves the big dot sights say that they're great for combat sights, and that's their way of saying that it's hard to hit things very precisely with them, but it's okay because who cares, it's just for combat, right? I found that the big dot sights, while they were very easy to acquire visually, it basically gave you a blind spot, and so to take precise shots you kind of had to visualize away the big dot, and visualize the center, the little tritium vial over what you were shooting or under what you were shooting to make your precise shots. And that's kind of a lot of extra trouble that I found I didn't really want with my carry gun, so I eventually just took that big dot sight off and put the other Meprolite front sight on that was the mate to this rear sight. And so now I'm happy with that. And of course I have a slide plate cover, which I always put those on mine. I also stippled the grip on this myself with a soldering iron, and helps a lot with purchase, and I like the way it looks. So that's my main pistol. 30S, it's a 45. Also on my right side This is how I keep my keys. You got to keep your keys somewhere. And I use my right front pocket for my pistol. And you know, a long time ago when I started doing that, I figured that I would start wearing my keys on my belt. And I showed this in my last EDC video, but I'll show it again because I still use it. This is the Bianchi Accumold 9405K belt keeper. It's a belt keeper that it basically puts the load on this loop instead of hooking something to your belt loop or something, which would, you know, eventually destroy your pants. And I've been using these for years, and I've only had to replace it once, and that was when this broke. So love these things. Great little thing. Also easy to take on and off. Then for a long time I just kept my keys on that, on a big key ring, all my keys. Lots of noise. Whenever I walked around everywhere, you know, it was always, you know, lots of noise from all the keys. So sometime last year I started brainstorming how I could go about quieting those keys, making myself a little quieter when I walk instead of jingling everywhere. And eventually I came to this setup right here. This thing right here is just kind of a leather, and there's lots of different options for this, but after a lot of looking in and trial and error, I went with this. This is, they call it a YCM05 leather key holder, and it's just, you know, a little piece of crap from China that, you know, doesn't cost very much, and I had to do a good bit of modding to make it reasonable, but this is my second one of these. The reason I had to buy a new one, and my first one, this wasn't shiny. In fact, I didn't mean this to be shiny, but I didn't bother exchanging it. My first one, instead of the gold color like this, it was kind of that gray hematite color. But, you know, this is on my right side whenever I sit down in the car, and so one day this little zipper, which was the only little doodad that I left hanging off of it, got caught in my seatbelt or something, and then when I got up, it popped off. And so then I wasn't able to really open the zipper without using my fingernails. So I replaced it recently. When you get this originally, it comes with, you know, this soft metal ring, and then it's got another little chain thing, and then this crappy little hook. And then on the inside, attached to that ring, was this chain. And then attached to the chain was another crappy little ring. And so I gutted all that stuff out. You know, I took this chain, I made sure all the links were together, and I replaced the crappy soft metal ring here that could easily come apart with a heavy-duty key ring. And then I hook that to my main key ring, which hooks to the Bianchi. And then on this here, I've got my keys, I've got a bunch of flash drives, and then I've got a Gerber shard tool, which I don't use very often, but it's a good thing for me to carry. You know, I can open beers with it, which is pretty much all I've ever done with it, but it also has screwdriver heads, and, you know, it can do various other multi-tool stuff, pry bar, etc. So yeah, I just kind of fit all that stuff in there, zip that up, and then get it stuck while I'm trying to show you guys what's going on here. Anyway, zip that back up, and then it quiets down those keys considerably, so I'm not jingling as much anymore. On the outside, all I keep on the outside is my van key, which I actually attached. I didn't think to look up the link for this either, but this is a unique little thing that I found that I use for hooking it to my ring. It's basically, I'll see if I can come up with the ring for it. Let's see, it says Rubit. I don't remember what the brand was. It was just a little no-name China thing, but it's basically something for attaching licenses or tags or whatever onto a dog collar, and you can get it for various sized dogs, and I think I got, you know, this was kind of like a medium size or whatever. And this is something that's really easy for just, you know, when I'm walking in and out, this stays on my belt pretty much all the time, and when I use the car, you know, I unhook it, and when I get out of the car, I just hook it back on there while it's still on my belt. And then I've got a Photon, you know, mini light in red, so as to avoid spoiling night vision. I've had this for a long time. This is one of the nicer ones. You can replace the battery. It's also got a switch on it that you can use to make it constant on. So just an extra light that I have, that's a backup, and then a library card, which I haven't used in God knows how long. And then on my right side, I also keep Burt's Beeswax. That's backwards in the video. Nope, upside down. Burt's Beeswax. I got away from chapstick a long time ago. I got tired of all the extra chemicals and stuff in there, kind of making you addicted to having the chapstick, so I use Burt's Beeswax because I don't feel that way when I use it. And then I've got my extra little secret here. This stays on the right side of my belt behind my keys. And this is just a crappy little Leatherman pouch that the owner of a surplus store actually gave me when I showed interest in it. He didn't charge me for it. And I got this as a special thing to conceal my backup pistol, which is a North American Arms 22 long rifle Mini Revolver, 5-shot. Terrible accuracy. Very difficult to use. Definitely an advanced firearm to use without hurting yourself. And it's a fun little thing, but it's a great little backup, and it weighs practically nothing. So I consider it something that's basically free to wear. And when I took this, I kind of cut the sides a little bit, and then, you know, singed them shut and stuff so that it wouldn't come out. And that way it's easier to draw. I replaced the grips with some steel grips that I found on eBay. And if the guy who runs that store on eBay ever makes these again, he also made some that had kind of cutouts inside. And if he made those again, I would buy them from him, and I've offered to do so, but I don't think he'll be doing that anytime soon. The ones with cutouts on them, you could attach paracord to, which would make a little lanyard, which would make it, I think, a lot easier to shoot. Because when you use this gun, there's like no purchase on it at all. And some people get the bigger ones and stuff because it's easier to shoot, but that kind of defeats the philosophy of use. You know, when I use this, and I'm not going to pull it because it's loaded, it basically just hangs out in this one finger right here. And so I have to hold it in a special way. I've got to let it be able to pivot in my hand, and then with my thumb, I've got to keep my thumb down, out of the way. And I learned this the first time I shot it. Kind of hard to figure out the angle here on the camera, because the first time I shot it, I kept my finger, my thumb like this, and then as I fired it, the whole thing went back and bloodied my thumbnail over the 5 shots that I took from ramming the back of the cylinder into my thumbnail. So now when I shoot it, I have to keep my thumb down like this. And it's a pretty difficult gun to shoot. But it's a good little backup situation in case I ever can't get to my real gun, or, you know, need a gun instead of my little knife or whatever. So, and obviously very easy to get into places. And then, of course, I've got my phone, which this is a Galaxy S4. I haven't upgraded to any of the newer Galaxies. This one's still working well for me. And I put an extended battery pack onto the back of it that basically triples the lifespan of it, and it requires a larger frame, a larger shell. But worked out pretty well. Had to do some little crappy modifications to it with a Dremel to make the camera and everything work right. But I've been using this phone for 1 or 2 years now, and I like it. I like the extended battery pack too. So, okay, so that's my main everyday carry. That's my main EDC. Now, also, when I'm at home, I carry it home all the time too, because, you know, when it comes to being prepared, it's all about numbers. It's all about percentages. You know, the likeliness that, you know, everything on a time, whatever they say on Fight Club, right? Everything on a long enough timeline, the rate of everything drops to 0, or whatever that quote was. If you are armed all the time, chances are you're going to be armed when you need it, when something comes up. And if you're armed some of the time, you know, or like if you spend most of your time at home, you're going to be more likely to need it when you're at home than when you're out in the world and whatever. So basically, since I started working from home, I make sure to carry it home all the time now. However, when I carry it home, I'm typically wearing, you know, a t-shirt and sweatpants like I am right now. And sweatpants have very flimsy pockets compared to BDUs. So I can't carry, you know, my big heavy 30S in those little sweatpants pockets. So for a while, since I started doing this at the beginning of the year, I kind of revived my old PF9. You know, my first gun that I got, that I carried when I got my CCW years ago, was a Kel-Tec PF9. And then I upgraded that to a Glock 26, and then I made a change later to the Glock 30S when I decided to go 45 instead of 9mm. So, and this gun is okay. It's nice and light and fits really well inside this Blackhawk pocket holster that I used years ago. And so for a long time I was carrying that in my sweatpants pockets for what I consider my light EDC, my home everyday carry, which I pretty much use just for working at home and for going on my morning walks. However, you know, the Kel-Tec, and the reason why I started veering away from it in the first place is because, you know, some people really like it, and maybe they got lucky with really great guns. But there's reliability issues with a Kel-Tec. You know, the quality of a Kel-Tec, of a PF9, is nowhere near the quality of a Glock. You know, the Glock, even the little carry Glocks are fighting guns. You know, and you can tell the difference. And this just has cheaper material, stuff hangs up, you know, it's got reliability issues. You know, in these last few months that I've been carrying it, I've shot it a lot more, and I haven't really noticed any problems. I haven't had any malfunctions, but I still don't really trust my life to it. So, up until just recently, my light EDC was the Kel-Tec, as well as the SOCP, which I keep in the other pocket, as well as my cell phone. And then in the morning, I would carry my wallet too, so that I had my concealed handgun permit. Just recently, I considered an upgrade from the Kel-Tec to the Glock 43. So, and I've had this for a few days now, did some work to it, tested it out, love this gun. It's a little bit heavier than the Kel-Tec, but basically about the same size, about the same height. Some aspects of the Glock 43 I considered walking backwards compared to the Kel-Tec, like the magazine. For some stupid-ass reason, Glock decided to make this a 6-round magazine, but by replacing the worthless little flange grip that they had that came with it with a Pierce +1 grip, I was able to make this carry 7+1 again, like the Kel-Tec. And otherwise, I immediately did... bear with me on the angles here. I improved the takedown levers. I also got a Tango Down Vicker Tactical or whatever extended slide stop, which helps a lot. I put on, you know, another back plate, of course, and then I took my old big dot sight, and since I am going to be using this for close combat as opposed to my 30S, which I might not be, I went ahead and replaced the Glock front sight with the big dot. And for the time being, I still have the crappy original, you know, plastic Glock sights, which were actually a little bit off. I had to drift them a little bit. But to line them up a little bit better with the big dot, I took a Dremel and kind of cut into the black part a little bit so that it lines up better. And I'll be replacing this soon with some other sights that will be Nite sights. But there we go. There's my Glock 43. That's part of my light EDC, which also fits inside, you know, this Blackhawk holster just fine. And so that's replaced my Kel-Tec as my sweatpants carry. So there you have it. I'm going to try to include relevant links on Amazon to all of these products in the links below. Definitely shoot me a comment if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer comments as necessary. And that's it. Have a good night.